was your biggest takeaway from yesterday?
I got to give Dennis Allen a lot of credit. And, of course, like the execution from the players on his side of the ball, like that, DeMarco Jackson, what an incredible story for a guy who's worn the green dot one other time in his career to all of a sudden on short notice, probably, Monday, Tuesday last week, finds out that Sewell, who was wearing the green dot because TJ Edwards wasn't playing, was going to be out. And then he has very little time to prepare for this. And has a remarkable game. 15 tackles, Amen Ogbongbemiga with 14 tackles, 29 from your reserve linebackers, including one guy who literally does not play defense, is incredible. But that goes to show you how Dennis Allen has revitalized that side of the ball. That, we talked about it from the moment he was hired, attacking style defense, aggressive. We've seen that with some of the decision-making with scheme and how creative he's had to get, and, just based on injury, but also based on mitigating some of the issues that they had earlier in the season, pass rush issues, all of that. He's really good at adapting and adjusting. It's like he's been doing this for a while. And I think that that's reflected in how well anybody that they plugged into that lineup yesterday played. And, Kap, you mentioned it. Tyreek Stevenson goes out with injury early on. He's listed as questionable, then doubtful, and never comes back. For Nick McLeod to step up. And I know Ben Johnson has really, given him some high praise throughout, from training camp to early on the season when he's playing for Kyler Gordon and all of that. This is a really good group of starters, but the reserves and the depth that they have too is, it speaks to, I think, the way that it's being coached, but also this front office for identifying players that can fill a void for however long needed.
Courtney, what did you think of Caleb Williams' performance? 16 for 23, 215 yards, 3 touchdowns on passes thrown between the numbers. What did you think of his game overall?
I thought he had a really good game. Yes, there's moments where there's some off-target throws. There's the two things he's going to want back are that 3rd and 13 delay of game. I think it was the second to last drive, and then the sack in the end zone, or the sack and the fumble in the end zone, just trying to do too much there. But outside of that, he's playing better in structure, staying in the pocket. He was barely outside yesterday, and that was probably, as much of a byproduct of the Steelers trying to keep him in there and make him win with his arm from there, not do so much on the run. But he's growing, and I think that you really do see it. It's not lip service from coaches of we're seeing, improvement every week. You're seeing him step up and make big throws and be decisive in the red zone. We can credit, as we should, DJ Moore ran a really pretty route on that slant when he caught the first touchdown, and then Colston Loveland too on that 12-yarder. Caleb threw them dimes, on the money, perfect throws. And I think even before the Loveland one, the one that got them into the red zone, that 23-yarder, 22-yarder, whatever it was, to Roma Dunze, he's really gotten better at being decisive and making keen decisions and sticking with it and firing off. Because we know the arm strength's always been there. But to watch him put it all together, I think is really good. And I think that there can be two things that are true, though. You can point out how good he is with those things, but you can also look at the areas that the coaching staff does about where he needs to improve. There's the whole completion percentage thing. I don't think it's a non-story. I don't think it is the biggest story, but somewhere in the middle there of trying to find where he can level off with that will be the next step in his development. But I thought he did a really, really good job yesterday.
In terms of looking at the offensive line, I was texting with a buddy of mine. I said, boy, I never heard the name Ozzie Trapillo all day long, and that's a great thing. I was surprised that it was as seamless as it was. Were you?
Well, he's a second-round pick, so it should look that seamless. But
they've said he's not a left tackle. They even took him out of the competition.
Correct. And I think that, the last 2 months and what he's been doing in practice, clearly getting work there behind the scenes when Theo sustained the quad injury this week. The fact that you did not notice him, I think that honestly speaks to, you got to give, again, coaching a lot of credit and give Dan Rochar his credit for this too, because we said the same thing when Theo Benedette went in for his first start in Washington. You didn't notice the left tackle spot, and that's good preparation, that's identifying the right players. And it was the same thing with Ozzie yesterday. And I thought what was most impressive, and I asked Ozzie about this yesterday, like he'd been in on jumbo packages before, like since he started playing week 4 onwards. He's been used kind of in those extra lineman situations. Like his conditioning to go 65 snaps, like I understand that they have to be prepared, they have to be ready, but a lot of times it's easier said than done when you're not playing a full game week after week after week. And so for him to get in there, obviously he was, exhausted after that, but he never got beat because of a conditioning issue or anything. I think they have allowed like just one hit yesterday, and Caleb took the blame for the sack late that was on him. So I thought Trapillo played really well. I was not expecting it to look that as seamless as it did, and even watching it back this morning, the fact that you're going against a team that had the second most pass rush wins in the NFL to this point, and the fact that they kept them at bay, especially with their tackles, I think says a lot about this offensive line and just like where it's gone from and to where it is now.
I always find interesting, Courtney, from some coaches is that they're in the matrix. They're just focused on what they have to focus on to try to win the football game. I always find it surprising to Ben Johnson when he runs the football ad nauseum or throws the football ad nauseum when he calls those plays. Said, I didn't know I asked for 18 passing plays in a row. I always think that's fun because he's just doing what he thinks is best for the football team. 18 passes in a row. I didn't realize it at the time. Did you?
No, and I looked at Caleb's number like throwing numbers in the middle of the game. I'm like, okay, the fact that they kept trusting him to throw the ball, even when like there were some off-target throws, like right around halftime into the third quarter, like he had the second highest off-target percentage of the season for him, like for his numbers. They kept putting the ball in his hands, which I think obviously shows trust this coaching staff has. But like the rhythm they were getting in there when they could have played the time of possession game, tried to run, use the clock to their advantage. I think you get in a rhythm sometimes, and it's like you get blinders on as a play caller, and you just like, I want to say forget, but it's like it's working, so you continue with it. But I think another thing with Ben Johnson, and it was brought up, remember, right, like around the time of the draft, like talked to someone in the building, and they were like, he's a very emotionally intelligent, like his emotional intelligence, EQ, as a play caller, rivals some of the best coaches who do it in the NFL because he has he can get a pulse, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get in that rhythm, but like once he has his pulse on who's got the hot hand, receiver, running back, tight end, whatever it is, and being able to keep things rolling when guys get in a rhythm, when they're gelling, I think that speaks volumes to Ben Johnson's impact here. But yeah, I heard he said that, about like Joniak, I guess, let him know that about the 18 passes in a row yesterday, and he wasn't even aware of it. And I honestly believe that because you are so locked in as a play caller. It's not like the quality control guy is the one tracking every single play that's called. Ben Johnson doesn't have that on his, he's just trying to call the game. He's not worried about like the run pass split, I guess, at that point.
We have more with Courtney. I want to talk to you, I know Hoodie does as well, about what's coming up on Friday and what the Bears lineup could look like. Courtney Cronin, the best. She's with us. We continue. Kap and J Hood, ESPN 1000. Do you have any scoop that will get any of these guys back for Friday's tilt in Philadelphia?
Yeah, the ones that we're looking at, the most pressing would be Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson. And given that they were both full participants last week in practice, Jalen 2 days and Kyler that Friday, I think that's the one that I would look at like being activated maybe Thursday, going right into that Friday game. And because their windows are closing, Jalen's got another week after this week. Kyler's got 2, so it's not like it's super pressing. And usually the Bears do wait. Just based on this year's history, they've pushed it till the end of guys' IR windows. They did it with Amon, they did it with Austin Booker, but they need these DBs back. And what Ben Johnson said last week was that when they're ready to play, like they want them out there. They're not going to try to like keep the long leash just because they've got really good backups and good people who are filling in the void like C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I think if it continues on this way, you will see both of them activated for that Philly game. As far as T.J. Edwards, I'm curious to hear what Ben Johnson has to say today, because they didn't put him on IR. Like, this was supposed to be of the short-term variety with the hand and the hamstring. So if they can get him back, knowing that Edmonds is going to be out for until at least, I believe it's that December 20th game against the Green Bay Packers that he can be activated for, that would be a boost. Like, to go into a place where you're going to face an Eagles team that's probably pretty irritated with the way that they played yesterday, having a 21-0 lead and then blowing it, you're going to want as many defensive reinforcements as you can get. And it sounds like, at least in terms of what happened in the game yesterday, Dominique Robinson has a concussion. We know that Hippolyte went out and Stevenson. I think it's just on a short week, there's going to be zero contact because they want to make sure if they can get these guys back, they're as healthy as possible going, playing 5 days or 4 days from now.
You know what I'm hoping, Courtney, is that what we've seen from Montes Sweat, maybe his production can be contagious on that defensive line. It makes so much of a difference when Sweat can get to the quarterback. I know that Mason Rudolph has the lateral quickness of a rosebush, but the point is that Sweat still had to get to him. That's the hope, right? If you're the Bears, that this could open up for others. Yeah,
and it's paying off. I mean, he has like at least one sack in 5 of his last 6 games, and it took a while to get there, but since the bye, he's been a different player. And maybe that's them figuring out how to capitalize on those one-on-one matchups, how to generate some of those for Montez too. But he's looked like even yesterday, and I know it's a backup quarterback, but even like that aside, like the heads up play, the effort play on the strip sack fumble to not only cause that but recover it. He almost had another sack. Like, it feels like it's coming along in a way that you would have expected for the highest paid player on your defense. And that's a good thing, because what he's doing is allowing that pass rush to come alive. Because it always, like, you can talk about Grady Jarrett and Jervon Dexter and Andrew Billings and what they did in free agency to, reinforce the interior of that defensive line. You have to have a star edge rusher or at least a productive edge rusher, star or not, be able to get after the quarterback. And I think that Montez has shown the patience has paid off, because he's performing like he did when he first got here in 2023 when he was a Pro Bowler. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's able to, get to that sack total that he had in 2023 between the two teams, if not more, by the end of the season.
In terms of looking at the ability to run the football, Hoodie, what was the number you gave me? They threw it how many times in a row?
Just 18 times in a row.
18?
Yeah.
Did that surprise you? Because I'm like, where's our run game here? We've been running the ball well.
Yeah, and I mean, yes, the 18 did surprise me, 18 in a row. And I think, again, like I said, it's you look up and you realize that you're like, whoa, that's a lot. But, Monangai being their leading rusher yesterday, the guy runs like a bowling ball. And I think you're good for a Monangai short yardage touchdown every single week, because in those situations you capitalize on the physicality when the space is condensed in the low red zone, and you know that your run game can do some damage. Swift has had those games, not routinely, like recently, but like back in the beginning of the season, like in eight rushing attempts, 15-yard game for him is more akin to like weeks 1 through 3 than it is now. I think it's probably just that Ben was in a groove and he was calling pass plays because he thought they could work. But, we know that this run game's effective. And there have been times, or even times last week, where you're like, how come they went away from the run, yet they still pulled out the win? I think it's finding that balance for the run game to do the heavy lifting when you need it the most. Like, that's going to be, especially in a place like Philly against that defense, which I know what happened yesterday. Like, it was not a good look for them to be up 21-0, and then their defense can't stop anybody after that, and they blow that game. But in a situation like that, I think your run game will travel if you're the Bears, and that's what you'll want to lean on more than you did against the Steelers.
Courtney, from the Steelers' standpoint, now 6-5. Their next few games is against the Bills and at the Ravens. Okay, so it makes me wonder if Rodgers is coming back and when he's coming back, and then from there, a defense that just can be had. They have not been good all season, so it's something to watch here for the Steelers. Again, a first-place team that could definitely drop out if they keep going in this direction.
Yeah, especially where the Ravens are right now. I mean, they had a game. They were behind the Steelers yesterday by like one game in the AFC North. that division is up for grabs now. And I mean, Rodgers said he was good to play, or at least that was the reporting that was out there, that he wanted to play. He felt like he could. He got overruled. So I'd imagine next week when they play the Bills that he'll be back. But this Bills team's been streaky. Like, the thing about the AFC is that there's not one great team. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's very clear in the NFC that there is one overarching, like, in the hierarchy of teams, like the best team in the division is and has been the Rams. They've been the most consistent. I don't think you can say that about the AFC, because you'll have, you know, a Colts team that is 8-2, and then they lose in Kansas City, and then Kansas City feels like they're right back in it. And then you have a Chargers team that gets blown out 2 weeks ago by the Jags, and it's a mix, and it's so much more wide open, where that's why I don't rule the Steelers out from, like, I don't feel like this loss torpedoed anything for them, but they've got some ground that they have to make up on, because all of a sudden the team that was 1-5 in their division is now right there, challenging them to win the North.
Courtney, have a wonderful rest of your day. Just want you to know we're thankful we have you as a teammate, because you do an amazing job.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. And if I don't talk to you before, I guess, Friday's game, happy Thanksgiving.